Well, hi there, it's Polly here. Yay, with Mistress Newts. Yay, just doing another tea talk. Lady Grey, which isn't bad. I despise Earl Grey. It has bergamot in it, which is a laxative. So Jean-Luc Picard has some problems he's not sharing. Personally, I'd say lay off the cheese a bit, but still. Lady Grey is citrus. It's nice. Anyhow, so these are largely driven by viewer questions. So a viewer has asked about modelling emotions in role-playing games. Okay, so as it turns out, I am sort of the person to talk to about this. So initial role-playing games, of course, came from war games. So what they model is action. Manly action. Sticking swords through people's heads. And as we got into Traveller and so on, firing lasers through their heads. This remains, by the way, a core role-playing theme. You will see masses and masses of page count expended on combat, very little page count expended on anything else. There'll be systems of critical hits and so forth built into a combat system, but only very, and those will be very specific, but some vague hand-waving as to using a game system where you can get critical successes in non-combat skills. So yeah, so it's definitely been a thing. However, reeling right back. Miss Snoots, press the button. Switch to me. I was one of the first people to actually do emotions in role-playing games. The credits kind of go between me and Pendragon. So, let's go to Pendragon first. It did come out before my Albedo. Pendragon decided that it was going to do a game based on Arthurian legend. So what Pendragon brings in is two things. It brings in a system of loyalties. So one thing you can track is things to which you have a loyalty. They can be loyalties to a lord, they can be loyalties to a code. You can have a loyalty to the particular ones that you get as a player character normally are the laws of hospitality. And I actually don't like the way that works in the game because they get these really stupid, I have to say, apocalyptically stupid things where, you've turned up with your lady and these guys have put you up for the night. And now they say, you got to solve this conundrum, otherwise they're going to cut your lady's head off because it's just a custom of this house. Is it? Good. Have they done this to other people? Yeah, so they just randomly kill people who turn up. Yeah, I kill them all. What? But anyhow, that's just me. But the other thing that these guys brought in were your persona. There was personality traits here. And these were done as opposite sides of a coin. So you could be honest, and the other side of that would be devious, for instance. You could be pious or worldly. You could be greedy or you could be generous. And it was a sliding scale between these. Now, this... Unfortunately, the way the game system worked was it didn't actually affect your behavior and how you ran the character. You could announce that I guess I'll do a roll, and if I get under my greediness or whatever, then I'll go for it. But it didn't really honestly affect the knit and grit of gameplay. But what it did do is, if you worked these things up towards certain boundaries, you gained extra powers in the game. So if you had certain personality traits that went within certain areas, then you could count as a chivalrous knight. If I am loyal and pious and merciful and generous, then I am a most chivalrous knight. Or you could also be a religious person given the straits of a religion, and given the setting, obviously there was mainstream not mainstream actually, there was Catholic style Christianity, there was Celtic style Christianity, they also had paganism, and when the Saxons came in they had their values, and that could get you a religious bonus as well. So as you did things that went towards a certain type of behavior, as I behaved generously, you could get experience in your emotions that would push you further along to maxing out that particular personality box. And if you got into the sort of into the upper levels, it was a sliding scale between 1 and 20. If you got 15 or higher in one, you are become famous for that trait, which gets you some glory each year. Even if you're famously greedy, or even if you're famously devious, that's still like a reputation, which is worth something to you. So that was their way of modeling emotions and loyalties. First, at the same time this was being developed, I was developing the Albedo role-playing game in Australia, my first role-playing game. And that was based on a comic series that had a lot of political intrigue and a lot of sort of personality clashes and loyalty clashes and so on in the stories that I was taking this from. So I wanted there to be certainly combat, and we were coming through that kind of simulationist period, so I was quite keen to have this amazing kind of combat sim, but I wanted something that would model emotions and loyalties. So I came up with two different systems. One was self-image, your confidence effectively in yourself. And when that confidence is high, you got bonuses on dice rolls. But if it's been devastated, then it affects negatively all of your dice rolls. And when you contribute to things to which you have close ties, you gain in self-image. When you betray the things to which you have close personal ties, or when they betray you, your self-image goes down. So the hand-in-hand system that went with that was ties and antipathies. You could have close emotional ties to people and things, or antipathies towards them. That could be a tie or loyalty to a sort of a larger abstract thing. I am loyal to the Empire. I'm loyal to the I'm loyal to the Marine Corps. I'm loyal to the company. Or can be ties to specific people. I have someone that's a lover. I have someone that's a friend. I have my battle comrades. We've served together. We'll do anything for each other. But I have an antipathy to the sergeant. I hate that bastard. So I love the Marine Corps. I hate my sergeant. Now, you could use this as a bit of a role-playing roll-off. So let's say you have fallen in love with this secret agent. You also love the Empire, but the secret agent, she now wants you to do something dodgy for her, but it might be betraying your loyalty to the mighty Empire. So you can roll against them with a dice roll modifier for the level of tie you have to each and see which way you go. Probably going to be bad news for your self-image, because you'll get a bonus because you've contributed to her, but you'll get a negative because you've damaged something that you love. So, oh no, you'll be tortured. You'll be going back and forth. So this was the idea, that it would cause some role-playing things to start to come definitely into the game. And you could have a mechanical thing where if you didn't want to make the decision, you can roll against it. Or you can choose to make the decision, but you'll take the consequences. Ties and antipathies tend to go up as they come into play. So as something that you love gives you positives, you tend to gain experience in that tie. So you'll tend to, when the Empire looks after you and promotes you, and you get that shiny medal or whatever, your love for the Empire will go up more. Ooh, if the Empire basically screws you, and you see that it's actually secretly conducting war crimes, and that it threw that old friend of yours on the beach, and then you are accused of that crime that you didn't do, and they force you to run. Well, that love for the Empire may wither. So that was my idea, to make an emotional landscape for the game. And that is kind of where emotional modeling stopped in the mainstream games. Pendragon was it, and remained it in mainstream, highly published gaming for ages. I went on, and immediately after Albedo did the Lace and Steel role-playing game, which similarly used ties and antipathies and self-image. I liked the idea, and again, it was a swashbuckling game of romance, so we needed the ways to get great loves and great betrayals and these sorts of things in. It's a thing that I remain obsessed with, so I have some games coming out at the moment. I have recently designed one called Sealy, which we're laying out here at the moment, and that's all about the Sealy Court. And my idea for this Sealy Court is that it's very like a Louis XIV Versailles. So it's not medievally weird pucks bouncing around in a grove. It's palaces, and it's guys with full bottom wigs and lace. And we do have muskets and strange, and we've got these fey courtiers who can sort of change visage and shape and work magic and so on, but they're all doing romance and they're maneuvering for position and so on. So this was it. Now there had also, I have to say, been En Garde, which was a Three Musketeers inspired early role-playing game. Came out in 1975. It didn't specifically have any kind of emotional modelling in it at all. However, that game was pushing you towards chasing after mistresses and things, so it's like didn't have anything that intruded in the game, but at least it was trying to, in a very primitive way, trying to say, this mistress is worth more to you to have than that one, so maybe you should fight for this one. It gave them like a monetary value or a status value for having this woman under your arm, so I don't really look on... So I'm mentioning it, but I'm not looking on that as emotional modelling. Now, this is where we sat. Lace and Steel, Albedo, Pendragon were kind of the only emotional modelers. However, as we get to... we do get things like Call of Cthulhu and so on, fairly clumsily trying to model fear. Okay, they put in a fear mechanism. Simple, like every time you see something that's horrifying, it tends to whittle down your sanity, and when your sanity gets to zero, you go blah, 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 and it's kind of game over for you until you come out of the nut hatchery, hopefully somewhat recovered. But the more you know about the monsters, the more you go insane, so it was a downward spiral. So okay, there was that. However, in the more modern age, some horror games wanted to be more nuanced, so we began to get some things like Don't Rest Your Head, which is brilliant. Look for it on Drive-Thru. A brilliant game. And that, the design conceit of that is that you're an insomniac. For some reason, you haven't slept for quite a few days. I don't know, you're just studying for that exam, or just, things have been getting to you, and then suddenly something goes click, and you see a whole layer to the world that was hidden, and it's full of monsters and strange things or whatever, but they're always there, but people can't see them, and if you can't see them, they ignore you, but now you can see them, so now they interact with you. So that had a very, very clever way of simulating insomnia dice, fatigue, and so on. As you did things, fatigue build up, and what you're trying not to do is fall asleep, because if you fall asleep, then you can't protect yourselves, but these things are now aware of you and can close in on you. But they also brought in panic. How they modeled that one, by the way, was as you do actions, it was a dice pool system where you get a group of dice and you're rolling and you're looking for a set score on the dice to succeed. But you could add extra dice into it as panic dice, where I'm putting in the effort. Oh my God, this thing's coming to get me. You could throw these things in. But you could throw in, also had some dice you could throw in for basically effort, which was sort of staving off your insomnia, but they were basically some insomnia dice that you could throw in. And then you rolled. Now you're rolling your skill dice, your panic dice, your insomnia dice. You count up the number of hits to see if you succeed, but whichever set of dice had the most number of hits is what rules the situation. So if your skill dice had the most hits, then skill rules the situation. I'm firing my gun at these things, so obviously my marksmanship tells. If panic rules, then I get these things, but because I'll frenziedly empty out the magazine, and now my magazine's empty, and now I'm hyped up. If it was the Insomnia dice, then you've used a frenzy of effort in order to overcome it. But now you're tired, and if ever the number of hits that your Insomnia dice have exceed the hits from everything else, that's it. You flake out and you're down. And you can, once you've used a set number of Panic or Insomnia dice in a roll, you can't lower the number you use. So if you decided to add 4 dice effectively, hey, I'm adding 4 dice to my skill so I don't get killed by this monster. Yeah, but now you can never have less than 4 dice. So Panic's always got a chance to rule. And I think if you got any hits on the Panic dice, I think you have to add an extra Panic dice. So it starts creeping up on you. It gets out of control. So that was a very clever system. If you have a look at things like the current Alien role-playing game that is out by Free League, they use almost identically that system. But all they've got is Panic dice. They don't have the extra dice. But what happens is you can push a roll by adding Panic dice to the situation. But whenever you do that, you have a Panic tracker, which adds, and when that tracker goes over a certain amount, you start rolling a dice, you add your current Panic tracker to it, and that will give you effects, which could be anything from like babbling panicked things over the intercom or over your radio, which makes other people start taking panic tests, to emptying out your magazines, to freezing in terror as the monster goes over the top of you, etc. So, okay, and it's a very good way of modeling fear. It works very well. And fear seems to have been the thing that people really wanted to do. Not romance, not intrigue, not political maneuvering, fear. So that's been the main driving force now for games that model that better. And these games come alive a lot more because of it. Call of Cthulhu has currently into 7th edition, I think, and it has changed it's changed its sanity rules a little, but I think they still don't come up to these kind of panic-induced systems. We also got some interesting things for fear where you'll get things like doom counters appearing. So the Conan game that Modophius had out for a while, I believe they've lost the license because these licenses don't last long, but what that had to simulate the fact that these are the accursed ruins. Do not go there, it is cursed. Do not touch that, it is cursed. You must not read from the book. What they do is, basically they give all the players a doom counter, which is a negative on your dice rolls. So just for going into these accursed ruins, just the vibe of the place is starting to affect your rolls. You can try and throw off those doom counters by making kind of courage rolls, or if you're deeply religious, you can make a deeply religious roll to kind of whittle them down. But as omens, things like that come down on you, you're constantly fighting not to be dragged down by them. Another another interesting thing. I'm still not seeing a lot of stuff coming out for doing the romance and the loyalties and so on. I'm starting to see a few games turn up amongst the ones that I'm reviewing that are just now starting to use systems of loyalties and so on. Usually they're expressed essentially as a type of skill where you develop loyalties to people and places and things, and there will be rules for mechanically pitting them against each other to try and drive the decision-making process of the people running the character. And that's a good thing. It's because this is, as you can see, it's been a neglected part of the emotional landscape of telling stories. And we are, after all, making stories to share. That kind of, these things affecting sort of self-image, the consequences, emotional consequences of betrayals or forcing yourself to make hard choices that betray are still not well modeled. It's still not a common thing in games. As I said, I should have Sealy out soon, which will do it. I've just done one called The Wine Dark Sea, which will have that as well. That's set in about 1200 BCE, so it's like the heights of the Egyptian pharaohs, the Minoan civilization, sea peoples, and the horned warrior cults in Western Europe. And it's mysterious and it's deep and it's amazing. But because this is also the era of Helen of Troy, the Trojan Wars, any really cool ancient Egyptian kind of story that you've seen. By the way, find the movie The Egyptian. It's dark, but it's brilliant. It's an old 50s movie. But yeah, these are about these terrible choices that people are somehow dragged into. People are suckered into terrible romances that start making them betray their values. So, these sorts of things is what I was wanting to model with that. I'm hoping we see more of it because the sensibilities of the new audience that is coming into role-playing games, they're often very flashy and kind of Marvel movie influenced, so not a lot of bottom to it, but they are way more into the storytelling aspects of it. So mechanics to model emotional aspects of stories may start to come more in vogue, but it does remain kind of the lovelorn lost child of role-playing game mechanics at the moment. And so, I'm watching and I'm seeing, as I said, I am seeing some come out, and there have been like little tiny flares in the past where a game will have a little loyalty system. Wackly enough, things like I think the Renegade Legion game had a thing for loyalty and so on, because you've got potential betrayals because the way the setup was. So but I'm really looking forward to seeing some new mechanics coming out from people. I want to see I want to see what people come up with, because I love and trust my fellow game designers, and I love seeing the sort of ideas people cook up. So anyway, that's kind of a brief history of emotional modeling in role-playing games. These are quite serious talks, aren't they? So anyway, we will keep on writing. I'm doing a bunch of stuff at the moment for Wizard Tower Games, which is a lovely company. I'm starting out with a couple of fun games aimed for younger audiences as well as older, and then we're going to do things hopefully like the Wine Dark Sea, and hopefully maybe a samurai role-playing game and so on, because I'm an old Bushido player and really would like to have something to get my teeth into there again, and that sort of thing. So yeah, so I will keep doing emotional modeling as part of my game systems because I like what it gives. You can ignore it if you want, but it does give you some interesting extra story, some extra cogs and gears to help drive your stories along. Anyway, that's goodbye from Mr. Snoots and me, and hope to see you around the games table someday. Keep playing, and catch you later. Bye.